Okay, so we are back. Welcome to Hurdle the Line preview show. No, it's a review show. 'Cause I had to do the one on Monday. The preview show for week 16. With me, as always, is Sam and Carl. First off, how are we this week?
Good, good. Just waiting for the college games to come round personally and get everything sorted there and not have to worry over Christmas about how my team's going to perform.
That's yeah. What a weird, what an odd thing just to have to add into Christmas. All the thing going on around Christmas, and we're all worrying about how our teams are gonna get on. How are you, Carl?
I'm okay. I'm okay, mate. Christmas is around the corner, which is great. And I'm in the spirit, as you can probably see him from my screen. I have my gin, I have my Christmas tree on the corner, and I have cheese. I have cheese and crackers. So
Well, do you know what?
I'm all good.
Do you know what? You've got your little Christmas decorations there in the background. You've got your gin and your cheese and your crackers. It's lovely. Sam's got his decorations out in the back. I feel like I'm letting you down, so give me 1 second. I'll sort myself out. Don't worry.
He's going to put his Jolly Roger hat on. No, it's Santa hat on. Okay.
Nope.
Now putting your headphones on is going to be an interesting one.
I have to sort this out properly so I can put my headphones on as well. Um, but yeah, this is happening. We'll do it. I'll make sure I can't leave you. I can't be the only one not getting into the Christmas spirit. I can't not do it. So here we go. We've got less than a week to go. It's Christmas time. I think we should all, yeah. Why not enjoy ourselves? But before we get properly started on it, the before we properly get started into the episode, I think the first thing we need to do is give a nice little shout out, a little Christmas shout out to our sponsors, Fantasy Game Day. Where did that go? There we go. Our sponsors, Fantasy Game Day, the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. Create your lineup, manage your budget, compete against fellow UK fans, and maybe even win a little bit of money in the process, which would be really nice just before Christmas.
Mhm.
Really nice little thing just before Christmas if you manage to win. Just head to the fantasygameday.app. The link is Carl, where's it gone? Where's that link gone on YouTube?
It's down there
There it is.
somewhere.
There's right there. Right there. That's where I dropped it.
It's down there where the Giants, Patriots, and the Raiders are, but yeah, it's down there somewhere.
Do you know what? Perfect way of describing it. The perfect way of describing it. If you are not on YouTube, you just head over to the podcast app that you are on. It's in the show description. The link's there. Download the app, sign up, and at the bottom of your sign up, use code HRDLE. That is hurdle without the U.
There's no you. There's no hurdle the line without you.
Oh, you fucked it.
There we go. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it. And the
I was
guys
all ready to do it as well. I wasn't not paying attention.
and the guys over at Fantasy Game Day app. And do you know what? Christmas is always put forward as the time of giving, the time of whatnot. Fantasy Game Day app are going to give you, because you use that code, they will give you a free play worth £7.50 once you deposit and play. But that's not because they're just being generous for Christmas. That is long standing. That will go into the next few weeks and go into next season as well. Because that's just how nice they are. They don't just give at Christmas, they give all year round. You must be over the age of 18, and please, as always, gamble responsibly. When the fun stops, stop. Now, now that out of the way, I believe there is a little bit of news. Um, Sam, I do believe you came first with a couple of little bits for us. Do
Yeah,
you have it?
I'll have to go go back to them all. So, I suppose the first one that I sort of some of the news is that um, actually we'll leave the Jets news because I think if we want to talk about the other thing that happens, it sort of falls in with that.
Hmm.
Um, we'll move on to the next bit, which is let me find it. I did have it here, and now it's all disappeared because I went off the website.
I've just noticed autocorrect done me dirty there on that piece of news. Not quite dirty. Kamara potentially out for
Yeah.
the
Oh,
season.
yeah. So So Kamara and Alvin Kamara is still being assessed for a groin injury, which he picked up in the last towards the end of the last game, and it is likely that he will not take another snap this season. So it is talk that he is going to be out for the rest of the season. The other news, which I suppose is probably relevant more for the Christmas Day games, which are going to be on Netflix, is the all four teams are going to be wearing patches, which will have the NFL logo, but also have two candy canes that will be crossed behind it. So just a nice little bit of additional festive uh, addition to their outfits, I suppose.
Indeed.
And then the other part, I suppose that we've also got released today, I believe, was the 2025 Pro Bowl games skills have been announced. So, Fletch, have you got the list of the games that have been
I
announced?
do. So on Thursday, January 30th, the passing the test, quarterbacks try to hit targets at various distances around the field with different point values in 40 seconds. Uh, Before the challenge, each quarterback will select a Pro Bowl games teammate to answer 5 trivia questions about the current Pro Bowl players. For every correct answer, the quarterback gets an additional 10 seconds. The winner of the competition is the team of the quarterback that scores the most points. Satisfying catches presented by Snickers. One wide receiver, tight end, and defensive back from each conference will compete in a challenge obstacle course, including catches from a jugs machine at 3 different distances to test every aspect of catching a football. Each teammate will complete the course back to back with the lowest combined time winning the challenge. Relay race, a simultaneous relay style event where 4 players from each conference complete a 40-yard dash before handling a football to the next athlete on their team, continuing until the fourth and final leg crosses the finish line. The conferences will compete in 3 rounds with the fastest team winning. Helmet harmony. Helmet headline. This is a helmet headline.
It is
Come
a
on.
helmet headline, yeah. Helmet headline.
A game show to test player knowledge of their teammates with every correct answer worth 1 point. The team with the most correct answers wins. Doesn't quite involve a helmet, but I'll still take it. Dodgeball presented by Bud Light, a 3 round tournament. We all know what dodgeball is. I'm to explain that one. And then on Sunday, the second, there'll be 3. So there's punt perfect, 2 players, a punter and a non-punter from each conference, punt from the 35-yard line, attempting to place as many punts as possible into a set of 6 buckets in the end zone. Each bucket is worth 1 point, with every 5th punt worth 3 points. 2 players with the highest combined score will be the winners. The
That
great
just
foot. Sorry,
that just reminds me of the film Dodgeball. Yeah, I just keep getting flashbacks to it. You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
gotta see him running in like that.
Yeah. Clip it.
The great football race. 6 players from each conference will face off in a relay race consisting of 5 different challenges, culminating with a sled push and then tug of war. 5-on-5. We all know what tug of war is. So, yeah, they're the games. And now I need to get this image of all the games being just like the film Dodgeball out of my head. So,
Instead of Justin Jefferson doing the gritty, he's doing that coming in instead.
love it. Love it. Now I'm definitely going to see if I can find at some point throughout today to throw a couple of Dodgeball references in as well.
I
So,
think the other thing as well, just the final thing, I suppose, is um, the the NFL or no, sorry, Netflix are going to be releasing the show. What was it called?
America's Team, the Gambler
Yeah.
and his Cowboys.
So obviously, it's a show about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And I do believe I've seen images of was it Deion Sanders was in
It is
that,
Deion Sanders.
and a few other
Jimmy
former
Johnson was in
players.
there as well. I'm actually seeing a bit of the trailer right now, actually. So
So you've got the trailer there, and you'll be able to go and watch it. And I think there's another show as well, Carl, that you mentioned that's been released or is at least has been announced. Might have been released actually.
What the Enema documentary series of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah,
Sorry, beg your pardon.
That's what it will.
Sorry, Enigma. Sorry, that was what
It's
I
not
meant
the
to say.
name of
a
it. That's
much
just what it
different
feels
show.
like.
The Enema of Aaron Jones.
Are you a friend or an enema?
I
Don't
was
say
like,
that in
Aaron
hospital.
Jones is in this now. What's going on? Went from
Oh, Rodgers.
Aaron
Oh, it's
Rodgers
been a long
Enigma
day.
to Aaron Jones's Enema. There's
It's been a long day.
love it. So Netflix is really desperate for content. We've just found out.
They've
They're
pushed the
not
boat
that
out.
desperate since they have got Monday Night Raw
Well,
coming to their coming to their
since
show on in January. But anyway,
That's the
since
jam, yeah.
Georgia, Texas, and Alabama declined to be in their SEC documentary, they thought we need to get something in
Aaron Jones's Enema. That's what they've got
Aaron
in
Jones's
instead.
Enema. That's what they said. They said no. If we have to show Vanderbilt and LSU, we'd rather show Aaron Jones's Enema. Um, so, but no. To be fair, that could be fun this year as well. If they do follow a team like Vandy and showing the win over Alabama, and that's gotta be fun. That is gonna be fun. Um, But and I said there's one other bit that I actually forgot to mention, and that was as it pertains to the Detroit Lions. David Montgomery is getting a third opinion on his MCL sprain. So he's definitely sprained his MCL, but they're just trying to see whether, it'll require surgery, whether he just needs a bit of rehabbing on it, and it'll get him through the last few weeks of the season. Definitely be out this weekend, definitely be out probably for a couple of weeks at the very least. But they're just basically trying to figure out whether they need to put him on IR or not. Um,
Realistically, you're going to want to hope that it's all right if he misses the next 3 weeks, but back for the playoffs sort of thing is the
yeah.
target, I think, for that one.
Yeah,
or
at
at
the end
least,
of the day,
or at least try and be ready for the Super Bowl
at the end of the
with
day, really.
the same as Aiden Hutchinson. So
Well, and to be fair, I can add something there that Aidan Hutchinson was on this week saying yes, he is actually trying to make it back for the Super Bowl. He's on a podcast this week trying to giving it all that. So that again, I refuse to give myself hope on that because hope kills you. Um,
When did he get injured?
week 6.
I'm just wondering, when did Pacheco get injured?
I think it was week
When
3 or 4
and he was back for the first time last week or the week before.
last week.
So that's 12 weeks
Yeah.
he missed.
Ish.
11, 12 weeks. And if he was injured in week 6, that would mean that technically he would be ready by the
You
start of the playoffs. But
well, it's because it's a slightly different injury, wasn't it? So it was just a
yeah,
couple of weeks. It was a tibia and fibia fracture, but I believe it was a really clean break, so the recovery has been slightly better for him. But anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. Did any of you see the tribute? Well, the emotional message sent by David Montgomery to Jameer Gibbs this week on Instagram. Not that you follow David Montgomery on Instagram, um,
I
but
have
we all know.
Instagram, but David Montgomery is someone I do not follow.
Um, well, we know the affectionate name that they've been given now in Sonic and Knuckles. Just so happens that at the time as well, Sonic 3 is out. Um, with Sonic being Jameer Gibbs and Knuckles being David Montgomery. He put up a picture of Sonic carrying Knuckles and crying and just tagged Jameer Gibbs in it, which hit a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But that hopefully he'll be back soon. Other than that, I think that's the news.
Well, there was one big bit of news. The Falcons have taken Kirk Cousins behind the woodshed
We're
because
hold on.
what?
Hold. Gonna get into that in a second
Okay.
because that's gonna set us up nicely for the main topic we're gonna discuss. Um,
I suppose the only other thing is that the Jets have interviewed
that's it.
Jim
That's it.
Nagy for the GM position.
And
They
Thomas
also
Dimitrov.
interviewed, Thomas
Yeah.
Dimitrov and John Robinson, the former GM of the Titans. And I suppose as an add-on from that, we've had some, whether it's relevant or whether it's true or not. it's come out that apparently Woody Johnson rejected or vetoed the Jerry Judy trade because he saw his rating on Madden. So
If
if you
that
ever want to laugh
story,
at a
if that story is true, I mean, that has got to be that has got some of the most weird and desperate ways of trying to get yourself put into the spotlight. Really is.
it's a very odd thing to admit. Even if you did do it, why would you admit it?
If you said he was a bit slow, or his route running wasn't that great, or he's a little bit injury prone, you could probably understand why. But your Madden rating?
Yeah.
With all due respect, I've played Madden twice in my life. I don't own a games console. My mate comes around with the Fantasy League lot, and on Super Bowl night, he brings his console around, and we all have a Madden tournament. I always get slapped because I don't play Madden. But even I was like, that's just bonkers. That makes no sense.
Well, it comes from a report by Diana Rossini from ESPN. Um,
Well, she's
it,
from the Athletic, but you know,
oh yeah. Um, and I'm not calling Rossini a liar, and that's not what I'm doing. I know she's great at a job, but that has to be bullshit. I'm sorry, it has to be. There is no way. There is no way that execs and owners are out here vetoing trades based on Madden. I can't fathom. I just can't fathom it. And
nah,
It does also seem
it makes no sense.
it,
It's the same as wiping your ass and then taking a shit. It makes no sense.
but then saying that, there are, if we're talking about our football, people do often use the information from Football Manager. And that's mainly because of, well, to be fair, that's a lot of that is taken from direct from Opta stats and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't think they solely use it. And if he's the only reason he's done it is he's solely done it based on Madden stats, then he's an idiot. But I can maybe understand using something like Football Manager, but Madden is a much different game. It's literally just based upon people watching things and making assumptions based upon different players and putting
Yeah.
it in an algorithm. So it's not as accurate, shall we say, in terms of things. So, but I mean, if he looked at the Madden stats and then also did further research, fair enough, and it's just a funny quip. But if it's the genuine reason of, yeah, I went on Madden and his rating was like a 70, so I didn't want him. That's just stupid.
Well, I think okay. I like where you're going at with that because if you're looking at something like Madden and you're going, for God's sake, Jerry Judy's slow on it. There's no way he's that slow. Let me go and check out if he's really that slow. I'm not saying it's that specific thing, but
Yeah, yeah.
if that's the frame of mind, okay, fair enough. But then that's a really off way of wording how that went down
Mm,
and doesn't paint the full picture. So either that's a bit clickbaity or he's actually just gone, wow, he's crap on Madden. I'm doing that. No way. But it reminds me of, I don't know if any of you listen to Jason Manford, the comedian. Thinking back in the day. And he made the joke of playing football manager and being really rude to, I think it was Micah Richards. And no one could figure out why. He was really rude to Micah Richards when he met him, and it turns out that Micah Richards was turning up late to training on football manager. And he let that kind of, it reminds me a bit of that.
yeah.
Um, but my last thing to you both, as we're on the Jets and it's already been mentioned, are you going to give the Aaron Rodgers Enigma documentary a go?
Given the fact that I have still not finished the wide receiver one, it is extremely unlikely. Purely because
Charlie,
as well, in the addition to the fact I don't particularly like him, so why would I watch something that he's in?
fair? Karl, you're on mute.
My apologies. No, I don't. I haven't got really time to watch Netflix documentaries at the moment. It's difficult, but I might over the Christmas period. I might. Yeah, I might give it a go.
Before the gin, not after the gin, because
No, no.
after gin
If
is
I were, oh no,
You
if
brilliant.
don't
I oh,
need
no
the
no no no
gym.
no 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 no. If I'm watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary, I need to not just have my gin. I need to have my mulled wine at the same time. There's no way I'm not watching the Aaron Rodgers without trying to bite my tongue at the same time.
I,
There's got to be a
not
drinking game in there.
every time he mentions vaccines, you've got to take a shot.
Oh shit in the head. No.
Every time an opinion sounds like it's come directly from the Joe Rogan podcast.
I'll be fucking dead by the second episode, probably.
Um,
I'll be honest. I'd rather watch Aaron Jones's Enema.
I was meant to say
talk
Aaron
about shit
Rodgers.
in
I
the
just saw
bed.
it.
No, we're just gonna gloss over that throwback to a fantastic running joke that talk about shit in the bed. No,
No, not yet.
It was like a fart. It just wafted away now.
I thought that was a great throwback to a couple of episodes ago. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
I still need to watch the Michigan one from on Prime. I've been meaning to watch that when he was with. Been meaning to watch that. It's been on my list for so
Sign
long.
Stealer,
The Science Stealer one, yeah,
it's good.
yeah. I need to
It's
watch
good.
that. So
Um, okay, so well, in fact, no. Before we get on, just the last bit. I know you and I spoke yesterday on the college podcast, Sam, about how there's a very specific thing on Wednesday that we want to watch on Christmas Day, and it's not football related. Karl, are you going to be watching the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special?
I might do. I am. But I'm more interested in the new Wallace and Gromit one that's coming out.
Good point. And you've got your
I'm so.
Wensleydale.
I've got my Wensleydale. I also got a Gromit mug as well. I've had it for about 15 years. So that's now, I still drink out of it, but that's now classed as an antique because it's a Gromit mug.
Funny story about them. The guy who created them, he was really big in. He went to church every Sunday. He used to do a lot of for his local church. And one week apparently it was this little old lady's birthday, and he made her a cake and he designed the cake with Wallace and Gromit on it. And she walked up to him afterwards and was like, "You know, they were really, really good. They were so. You should go into something like that." And he was kind of like, "What? Kind of already have." Um, I made Wallace and Gromit. They're mine. Um, but no, that's a really good shout as well. But I also cannot wait for the Christmas Day games. Um, I cannot wait for. And I'm going to watch a copious amount of sports documentaries. Because when I get hold of the TV, that's I've got Disney Plus again, so there's a load of them I need to go through. And with a VPN and now access to ESPN Plus with it, I think I've got a lot more that I can watch. So, but that should be really fun. More importantly, let's get on to the main chunk of the episode, which was Sam's idea. Do you want to set us up for this one, Sam?
Yeah, can do. Um, so I suppose this sort of again was we were doing a little bit of work around looking at the news and how we normally do, and we noticed that it seems to be QB week this week in terms of a lot of you know confirmations and changes and announcements, and a lot of them seem to be focused around QBs. So I suppose this week our main segment is around, I suppose, it's QB watch and all the news around that. So obviously started mentioning it a bit earlier, but Karl, do you want to start with our resident Chapman's Atlanta Falcons news that has come out about their quarterbacks?
Yes, so the Atlanta Falcons, they have officially taken Kirk Cousins behind the woodshed, it seems, because now Michael Penix is going to be starting his first game this coming week. Um, the interesting thing about all this is it's not so much as that Kirk Cousins has been benched, because there's a for the last 5 or 6 games, he hasn't been to the standard that, he was at the start of the season. The conversation that's been going around is how are you going to get rid of Kirk Cousins or rather trade Kirk Cousins? Because there's two situations regarding of the cap space. Go on, Sam.
I was saying I made the suggestion on what they could easily do for Kirk Cousins last week. They should trade him to the Giants. So
And
that's
I
that's what
don't.
they should be doing.
I had a chat with Chapman this earlier this week. Just me, just having a general chat, and Chapman said, obviously, listened to this episode, and when he said, "I'd gladly." Um, if he was in the Atlanta area, he would drive him to the airport himself.
I mean, it's an interesting one this around what's happening with Kirk Cousins because apparently he's come out and said that he accepts the benching, but he has also said, "I have not forgotten how to play football." So I don't know what's happened there, but he's come out and said that, which I found quite funny. Let's see if I can find the actual quote itself. It was quite a funny quote. Where was it? I'll see if I can find it, but it's there we go, Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he accepts benching, but says, "I didn't forget how to play quarterback," was the words that he used. So it's pro football. There's a standard that I have for myself that the team has for me. Unfortunately, I wasn't playing up to that standard consistently enough. It is what it is. You roll with it. Now you still get ready, one play away kind of thing, and support Mike and just try and help our team find a way to win the next 3 games and get to the playoffs. So it's a decision that's been made, and I think like we say, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Penix does manage to do well in these next 3 games that they do look to move on Kirk Cousins, and there's plenty of you know teams out there that are going to potentially be looking at Kirk Cousins if he becomes available. I know he's got obviously that 4-year contract or 3 years left in that contract, which is obviously going to play a big part. So there may be that the Falcons have to take some of the hit on that, but yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Kirk Cousins is starting for another team next year.
So there are 3 ways the Falcons can go about this. Tom Pelissero highlighted this yesterday, I think it was. So basically, the first option is release him before March 16th, 2025. No post June the 1st designation. The Falcons would owe Cousins 27.5 million fully guaranteed cash and carry a 65 million dead cap hit in 2025. The second option they got is release him before March release him before March the 2nd. It's still the same post June 1st designation. Same cash, but they'd spread the dead cap hit over 2 years. So it'll be 40 million in 2025, which is his scheduled number, and 25 million in 2026. They could trade him before the June the 1st, 2025, which Cousins would need to agree to. They'd carry a dead cap number of 37.5 million in 2025, but save 27.5 million in cash and 2.5 million in cap. And the other option is if Cousins remains on the Atlanta roster as of March 16th, another 10 million in 2026 would become fully guaranteed. Not impossible, but practically unfathomable after the decision today. Benching him now also avoids a situation where Cousins could get hurt in the final 3 games and lock in that additional $10 million, which is guaranteed for injury. That is the same sort of clause got put into Daniel Jones's contract.
Yeah, it's called the stupid clause.
It's called the stupid clause, yeah. Well, no, it's called the smart clause because you know that you're on the hook then if he does get injured. But
It's the
those are the
stupid. It's the
but,
stupid clause from the NFL, from an NFL team's perspective. I think it's good for the player, but
not good for the franchise.
yeah,
Um, so of those put in place, what do you think is the most realistic? Which one do you think they would probably go for? which is better for them, and obviously for Cousins as well.
I would think. See, the problem with the trade idea is I didn't realize he had a no trade clause in his contract. That makes things a lot more difficult because
Yeah.
essentially he then is able to make a choice on where he goes. If he didn't have a choice, I would say that it would make the trade option a lot more favorable because
He wants to have a chance of winning a Super Bowl.
there's no team that's going to want him. That is going to. The only place I could maybe see him going is back. Well, no, actually, no. He won't even go back to the Vikings because they've got JJ
Nope.
McCarthy. So who else? Where could he have? I mean,
Oh, since I know a lot of 49ers fans, I can easily tell you where there's a possibility they could go.
I mean, that's not out the question because who's their backup at the moment?
someone terrible. But also, why would they want to then pay Kirk Cousins when they already have to pay Trent Williams and others?
It's more like Brock Purdy that is the stumbling
I
block on that one.
don't think they have to pay him yet, though, do they?
Got another year, I think.
I think he's still got another year, or at least they can take the fifth year option, can't they?
They can take the fish option, yeah.
No, they
So I think,
can't. Not with Brock
No, no,
Purdy
no, no. Not with
because
Purdy. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He's not a
yeah,
he's not eligible for it. It's only
he's not
first round
eligible
draft picks,
for
isn't
it.
it?
So they have to pay him next season, otherwise he walks.
yeah,
I mean, they could franchise tag him,
yeah. So I suppose that's their
but
way
that's a
around it.
but that is every player's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But
It
also,
also, it also usually means that the year after they tend to leave anyway.
Or get traded
Because
during that season.
yeah,
if you don't see Brock Purdy as at that value, the with the rate that quarterback contracts are at this moment in time, that
that's
franchise
the other
tag's going to
thing.
be expensive.
Yeah, there's also the possibility that if you pay him this year, because this is the conversation I know with a lot of Niners fans are having at the moment, is pay him this year, and yes, he's going to cost a lot of money, but pay him next year, he's going to cost even more because if he has another good season, he's only going to then push his price tag up, and he has the option of leaving. So you've got to weigh that option up as well. Is it worth just paying him a year early and tying him into a long term contract, or what? But that's the only thing I don't. Unless I can't see him at the 49ers, unless he wants to be playing as a backup, and I think he wants to be playing. So I I I just don't see an option where he can go where he can potentially be a starter and be in the running for at
But
least for a playoff run.
that would be. I'm gonna say I don't think the Niners necessarily make it into the playoffs anyway. But if you were to go somewhere, there's every chance you could walk in and knock Brock Purdy off.
I don't think he could would not Brock Purdy. Purdy's a much better quarterback than him at the moment.
But yeah, I think you're definitely right in the whole. Like, there is no where the hell else is though for you.
Thing is, teams that need quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, are not bold. They're not playoff teams.
Okay, going off that conversation the other week, in the AFC, you've got Kansas, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Baltimore, Denver, and the Chargers right now, and most likely will be the Chargers. They've all got their
Chargers,
QB.
don't- Chargers have got a franchise quarterback.
Yep. So Denver,
Denver have now got their franchise quarterback.
so Baltimore, so Houston, Pittsburgh. They've got the quarterbacks they want for right now. I don't think they've got.
Yeah, they've got their now and then they've got their future. So
Um,
again, I think they're sorted because Fields and Wilson are very similar in style. So
What about Cleveland?
well, if we talk about playoff teams, then that
Oh,
ship
Cleveland,
sailed
come on,
so
let's
long
come
ago.
on, come on. I'm not trying to blow smoke up Ollie's arse here, but basically, if they started Jameis Winston at the start and not Deshaun Watson, there's a very good chance they could still be in the hunt for a playoff spot.
they don't have a bad team.
No, no, don't know about it. They've got a
And
good
that's
crop of receivers, and their defense is still one of the top. Still one of the best in the NFL. The problem
yeah.
was though they ended up with a child as their starting QB.
They also the O line is not great, but again, those are sort of things you can fix in the draft.
Yeah, and in free agency.
Yeah.
But
So that is a good possibility. I think, if he could potentially go there, but again, with all the problems in Cleveland, we're trying to get Deshaun Watson out of the door
because the
first.
only because the only other option I can think of if the Colts if Indianapolis are still not set on Anthony Richardson because he's still making basic errors, why not Indianapolis?
Mhm.
So there's there,
It's a
but
winnable division because it's really just Houston.
yeah,
Jags are not in a good place right now. Tennessee are absolutely horrible, and the Colts they're sort of there, but they're not really pushing.
the thing is
They're
with the
mid.
Jags though, when they take Doug Peterson out, which is going to happen,
Black Monday that will happen.
you put a decent coach in there, I think you're looking at a much better Jags. He got decent
They've got
amount
their
out of
they,
them
again.
last year.
They've got their franchise quarterbacks in Jacksonville because they're not.
Exactly.
They've put so much time and effort into Trevor Lawrence. They're not going to get rid of him at this stage.
And Trevor Lawrence isn't a bad quarterback. He shows consistently why there are passes that he makes that not just any quarterback in the league is going to make. There are decisions that there's just things just keep going. The play calling is terrible. The coach and the game prep is terrible, and that defense, which looked okay at the start of the season, has turned out to be terrible. But
They've,
put
they've
a
ruined. They've also ruined one of the top running backs in the league in Trevor Etienne. What the hell they Travis Etienne? Sorry, what the hell they've done with him and made him a secondary to Tank Bigsby, and that's no disrespect on Tank Bigsby. He's a good running back, but they've absolutely ruined him. And I think that they're almost at the point of ruining Trevor Lawrence as well.
yeah, like this a lot of that I think could be you could see a seismic shift in that franchise just with coaching changes.
Mm.
Um, And I absolutely agree that they've got their quarterback. So yeah, a team like Indianapolis could benefit from him. But I think the where my mind was at was more just in the I was in the headspace of if you go into a playoff team, I was looking at teams that are playoff teams right this second who want to be playing on the second week of January. If you're looking at next season and teams that you've got, I think we've said all we want to about the quarterbacks in the draft coming up, but chances are that's going to change as teams become desperate. We'll also see how the quarterback free agent market pans out and who goes in for a quarterback and who doesn't in that market because it'll show you who's quarterback needy teams that go into free agency are probably not going to go early in the draft and whatnot. So you could be looking at teams that if there's only a couple of genuinely good quarterbacks in this draft and they go high, you look at teams mid first round or with mid round picks that will miss out on a top quarterback, but maybe don't want to take the chance on that second crop of quarterbacks coming through until later rounds. Some of those limbo-y teams.
Is and again, this may be, and again, this is honestly just dependent on whether a team like this would take it, and whether Kirk Cousins would be happy sitting. But would somewhere like Miami, where there's the risk around Tua, his injury record, his
Aaron, anytime do you get
and his ability to somehow keep getting those concussion injuries, I would say if you're Mike Daniels right now, you want to be looking at bringing in a competent secondary QB who
Yeah,
can run that offense if he goes down again. So that could be an option. Again, there's no guarantee that for Kirk Cousins that he's actually then going to play games. But I would say of all the teams that have their set quarterback, he is probably one of the more volatile in whether he'll miss games or not.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cousins doesn't really need to play another down at football level again because the greatest man of all time is his agent, the ultimate fiddler on how to on how to get amazing contracts for such an average quarterback. But anyway,
I mean, if he doesn't care about playing, then go see if you can join the Chiefs and just go and try and win a Super Bowl there and be
what,
back
just
up
be
to
a
Mahomes.
backup? Oh no, because
Yeah,
they got bounced it to him Wentz, haven't they?
Obviously,
yeah,
they've got Wentz, but then um look at some of the other franchises though that could be in and around there. Do you want to go to somewhere like I don't know? I wouldn't say
true.
Buffalo because they seem they'll be happy with having Trubisky to back up, because Josh Allen ain't really going to go down. The Lions, Jared Goff, they're the more than happy with Hendon Hooker in the background, waiting to take his opportunity than you be Goff. You're looking at somewhere like LA, where there's been talk, and I'm not, but there has been talk over this season primarily of could Stafford leave? Could Stafford get bumped down? Could LA be after something fresh? Could you see something like that happening there? Or even it'd feel really
No,
weird though after the years of watching football the way I have to see Stafford and Kirk
no,
Cousins.
I
No,
don't think that.
they're the same the same type of tier of quarterback. High floor, low ceiling.
I think the Rams are more likely to try and take a second or third round quarterback this year. There is talk that they are looking at Carson Beck. Now, obviously, he's not had a great season. Don't think he's going to go high. He may be available in the second round.
Well, they took a Georgia backup quarter. They took a Georgia quarterback a few years ago, didn't they? Or was it Stetson Bennett?
Yeah, and he's
Mm.
too busy out partying and having to be in rehab.
They've
But
got a Georgia quarterback on the roster right now who's won them a Super Bowl.
the championship, you mean?
Matt Stafford is a Georgia quarterback. Matt Stafford
Well,
came
yeah,
from
that's
Georgia. He
true.
played
Yeah,
for, and he won them. Okay, he wasn't the Rams' draft pick, but I tell you what though, if you want to get someone like Carson Beck through the door, what better way to start than one having a Super Bowl winning quarterback and argue like my favorite quarterback
of
for
all
so
time.
many for in
You
so
can
many
say it. You can
um
say it.
no, because Goff has changed. That Goff has changed, but like who's also a Georgia alma mater. You have that pre-existing relationship that you both are from. You both went to the same school. You're both from the same tradition, the same program, and I think that immediately puts you on a much nicer and neater front.
I think he also
Whereas,
has quite similar style of play. I think Beck's more of a pocket quarterback than some of the others in that sense, and
yeah,
that's kind of what Stafford is. So, you know, I think it wouldn't be the worst of things. I mean, the fact that Beck's not had a good season, I think his draft capital could drop, and he could be one that could potentially be picked up later on than maybe expected. So I wouldn't be mad about it, but
I
he
mean,
he would
we all
need to
know,
sit for a year.
yeah, we all know it's Alan Bowman going first overall after his like the 87-year-old. Uh, Whereas apparently Nick said he's 24, which same thing when you're coming out into the draft as being 87. But I mean, not LA, New York.
Who's their
Go somewhere
starting
like
starting quarterback this week?
I think it's Drew Lock. Hang on,
No,
it's
he
either.
got dropped because it was
Oh,
it was Tommy DeVito was then in, and you had was it who was it was backup? It was another one. It wasn't who.
no,
Um,
I know what you're on about. Who you're on about? Who you're
Tim
on about?
Boyle.
Tim Boyle. That was it. Yeah,
Oh
got
yeah,
got, got his bum out Boyle.
They have literally reached desperation levels of tanking. This is the ultimate tank. The ultimate tank when you put Tim Boyle in at quarterback. This is the ultimate tank job now.
hey, we
But
did that once.
say
We
say
did that once,
You went 0-16 with Dan
and
Orlovsky. Don't
and
fucking go anywhere
with
near
all
me.
due respect, we were tanking, but we didn't know it. So
in all fairness, it looks like Drew Lock is actually tracking to start against the Falcons this
yeah,
week. So again,
they're still gonna get their shit beaten out of them.
well, the Falcons need to start winning games. So yeah, another QB news is that one. I suppose the next one to maybe talk about, and we have sort of mentioned it with the Cleveland Browns because obviously they're now starting their third quarterback in Dorian Thompson, whatever
DTR,
he's
just
called.
say DTR. It's a
Yeah,
lot
DTR.
easier.
What is his
Darian
name?
Thompson
Dorian.
Robinson, his name is, I think.
That's it, Robinson. Um, so yeah, they're starting him, who they picked up in the draft 2 years ago now. He was the same. He was the same year as
Uh,
Anthony Richardson and Stroud and all of
yeah,
those. That wasn't it?
2023,
Yeah.
2023 draft.
So they obviously drafted him. He's now starting over Jameis Winston after his utterly woeful game last week, where he threw, was it 3 interceptions before he got dragged out of that game?
Was that the game where you also
Yes.
threw four touchdown passes, Says, or was that the other one?
No, that was the
That
other
was
week
against
where
the
he was doing
Chiefs.
both.
We're talking about the game against the Chiefs, aren't we? That
Oh,
was
he was
the
Yeah,
ass.
three
Oh,
interceptions.
he was ass.
yeah. He let me just get his stats up for that game. He 16th, 25 attempts, 16 throws, 64% completion, 146 yards, 3 interceptions, a passer rating of 40.2. Saying that, DTR came in 4 for 9, 44% for 18 yards, 1 interception, PR of 12. So it wasn't a great start for him either. But DTR is in this week. Another team that possibly could be looking at either a veteran quarterback or a quarterback in the draft, um, or maybe potentially sticking with James Winston, or I don't know, hoping that Deshaun Watson comes back again and does better than what he's done in the rest of his career. Don't really know what to make of it. But I mean, again, it'd be a useful one. Obviously, we've got Ollie, who's our resident Browns fan. Not sure what his views on the quarterback situation is now and whether they should be looking at drafting a quarterback this year. I don't know if they should be or not, really.
I don't like Jameis Winston. I haven't. I have a lot of issues with his personal conduct and who he is as a person. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. We can say what we want about Deshaun Watson, and I agree. But go and look at Jameis Winston's Wikipedia. He's not much of a better person. Um, and add on to that, he's the king of being bang average. He's the king of mid. He's the perfect mid quarterback. He will throw you a he'll have two completions that'll go for they'll go for over 60 yards and they'll get you a touchdown and then he'll throw 14 he'll go throw 6 interceptions. It's just what he'll do. You get either one side of Jameis Winston or you get the other, but you never get anything. It perfectly balances itself out. Didn't he a couple of years ago have 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns?
Yeah, that
Um,
was when was that when he took over at
Saints.
the book,
Uh,
or was it the Saints or
was it
the
the
book?
Saints? Well, he got drafted by the Bucks, and then
Yeah, because then he sat behind Brady for that year that they won the Super Bowl, didn't he?
he did.
And then did
Um,
he move on to the Saints? And the Saints, that was where he threw the 30 and 30.
Mm.
he did. I'm gonna say it was definitely at the Saints where he did 30 and 30. Where has it gone? Oh, that was it. 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions in his last year with the Bucks.
That
Yeah,
was
I was going to say,
2019. That was 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah, that I
154.
remember that. I remember that season very vaguely because I obviously went. I went to Tottenham Stadium to watch the Bucks beat the home team against the Panthers, and I got to witness some of Jameis Winston throws, and oh boy.
I mean, the only how on Wikipedia it'll bold a stat that's your if it's your career best stat over a season, they'll make it bold.
mhm,
The last year anything was bold for him was 2021, and that was his passer rating of 102.8 on the season. He played 7 games that season. His
Yeah,
best year for attempts is 628. His best year for yards is 5,109, which, okay, a five. The Bears have never had a 4,000 yards passer in a season, so the 5,000 yard passing season's great. 30 interceptions that year, though. Like, he's just, he's he's a completely average quarterback who seems to be getting a career off of. He's got a little bit of character and he's not as bad as Deshaun Watson.
mm, mm.
It's with I'll put this in the best way. My siblings are my parents' favorite purely because I set such a low barrier for being a good child that naturally they just kind of were above that barrier anyway. That bar anyway. It's not an achievement to go in and be better than Deshaun Watson right now. I'm sorry, it's not.
I think the
Like,
thing as well, the thing with him as well is the fact that I mean, I'm with you, Fletch. I'm not a fan of him after, especially after the whole incident where the fake kneel down for a touchdown for Jamal Williams for the
yeah.
Saints against the Falcons. I will never like him after that happened. So yeah, he's not the future of the Cleveland Browns. They need to be either looking at a quarterback this year, which I wouldn't do. I'd be looking in the free agency, maybe bringing in maybe someone like a Kirk Cousins or a Sam Darnold, sitting for a year and looking in next year's draft pool. Because I think there's probably going to be a few more coming out of next year that might be a bit more NFL friendly.
Well, I'm not being, but I've never shied away from what my personal religious views are. So like, there's also that in there for me that there's just something's a bit off there for me. Um, but if you want a good, clean quarterback who's gonna come and play above average football and who likes to talk about Jesus and all that sort of stuff, Kirk Cousins is your guy. That's what Kirk Cousins does. He has a character. He has character. He has charisma. He has all that sort of stuff, and he's
He's got
better than
drip,
average.
mate. He's got drip.
It's
He's got
He's
Kirk
got
drip.
drip. He's
O'James.
got bars.
It's Kirk
He's
O'James.
literally the poor man's Eminem for crying out loud.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Too far. Too far. But no, but if that's what you want out of a quarterback with a bit of character, it's like above average and whatnot, then why not Kirk Cousins? The only problem is you're still paying Deshaun Watson all that money.
Mm. So I suppose moving on into some of the other big bits of news. Um, in terms of quarterbacks. Obviously, there's a few that are more related to injuries. So obviously, we saw Patrick Mahomes go down and was reportedly had a mid ankle strain, and he's already been elevated from the injury report and is healthy to play in that Sunday game. So, sorry, in the Saturday game because he featured in the Saturday game this week. So he will be playing, and also Marquise Brown could also start and make his debut in that game. You've also had the news that Geno Smith is likely to start for the Seahawks against the Vikings, and I think there was one other that was injury related, and I can't remember what it was, but there was another quarterback who was going to start. If I can quickly find it, there's talks of injuries, and I can't seem to find who the other one was. Um, But again, there's these. This seems to be that week, doesn't it? Of QBs and who's going to start and who's not going to start, who's going to get dropped. Um, so yeah, very interesting week. I think this week could be. But I suppose if we're on the topic of quarterbacks, we may as well talk about uh, Josh Allen and his 2 weeks of. I think is he the only player in NFL fantasy history to score 100 points in 2 weeks, or over 90 points in 2 weeks, or something like that.
Yeah.
So he scored, was it 42 points the week before where he played the Rams, and then he scored 51 points this week. So yeah, he's the first NFL quarterback or NFL player to score back-to-back weeks, and scored 90 points in back-to-back weeks. So potentially maybe a favorite for the MVP this year. And again,
Definitely.
going into this week, he's got another game where he could easily put up another 50 points in fantasy football when he plays Karl's Patriots.
If anybody misses that game in any of its entirety, it'll be uploaded to Pornhub. So in week 14 against the Rams, he put up 51.88 fantasy points, and then against Detroit, he put up 41.28. So yeah, 90, so just over 93 points in 2 games. That's just crazy.
And I think is it the last?
Absolutely crazy. And his 2 worst games of the season were against Miami and Baltimore, week 2 and week 4.
But hasn't he also in the last 3 weeks not put up a single sack or interception? 3 weeks on the
Correct.
bounce.
Correct, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's
And it's
pretty.
come off the bye week as well.
Yeah, that is coming straight off the bye week. I did see one of his teammates on Instagram was putting something towards the fact that he is obviously recently engaged, and they reckon that
Yeah.
has started to play a
Time for
part in his upturning form. So obviously, since he got engaged, he seems to be unstoppable. Whether
Can
that's
I
true or not, I mean, happy quarterback plays better, and maybe you could go along that route. Or
can I ask a question, gentlemen, if that's okay? So obviously you
it's
get like
okay if you ask a question. It depends on the question.
no,
yeah,
no, no, it's nothing derogatory, anything like that. It's basically you see it's in all different sports, especially you see when players either they're getting married or they get engaged or or they've announced that they've got a baby on the way and so on, and the child is born and so on. Sports personalities, and we see this a lot, where when some of these events happen, they do have a kick-on effect in their career. I know of a prime example. Listen, I love my darts. The darts is on the World Championship at Alexandra Palace, by the way. A Scottish guy by the name of Gary Anderson. Now, the year before he won the World Championship, his daughter was born, and in the time of that, throughout that season, he played as one of the best players in the game, and he won the World Championship.
shame he's a dick.
If you don't like Scottish people, then that's your prerogative. But anyway,
Oh, I
um,
don't like Gary Anderson.
Um.
I thought there's nothing wrong with Gary, if I'm honest.
So, what what's the
But
question?
is it more of a case of they kick on knowing that there's more in their personal life now to obtain and to help, or is this sort of like a little kickstart? It's
I
a
think
little confidence boost, should we say, really? Because I always think that it happens when after you've had a child, because you've got a new baby in your life, you feel happy, you're over the moon, you're excited, and so on. And when you put that into like your work or as the team that you play for, we're going with with twice as much effort as what you did.
I do certainly think it plays a part. I do think if you are generally happier and in a better position in your life, it does have a positive impact in the way that you work or the way you are in life. So I do think it does play a part for them as well, in that, he probably does feel a lot more confident. He probably potentially feels more relaxed because he's in a happy place and everything like that. And you can also see the flip side in the sense that if you look at maybe someone like, I don't know, Deshaun Watson, with all the issues that he was having in the off field, even now, where there's still the negativities that come with everything that's happened, he's never been the same player since when he came back. And you do see this a lot when there's negative things that happen off the field. players do have an impact on the field, and it becomes there is that element. I do think that it's not, a direct correlational trend. I think there are probably instances where it is a coincidence, but he was already a quality quarterback and arguably the second best quarterback in the league. But he's starting to put in performances that are now justifying that and being consistent. I think one of the big things that people said for a number of years in his earlier career was the fact that he used to fumble the ball when he was running and he used to throw interceptions. And the fact that he's not doing that, and he's, like you say, gone 3 games without an interception, or he's gone 3 games without a sack, he's putting up ridiculous yardage, putting up ridiculous
800
points as well.
yards, over
800
800 yards in his
yards.
last 3 games.
Yeah, and was it 90? They've scored 90 points in 2 games, the Bills, as well, on top of that. I think it's just one of those situations where everything is just falling in his lap and he's just bouncing off of it and just using it and harnessing it and just making himself that MVP level quarterback.
And there's us thinking that the Buffalo Bills are going to have a little bit of a down year this year due to their lack of receiving talent. Well, obviously we were wrong.
Mm.
Um,
I mean, there's no way people thought Khalil Shakir was going to be as good as he has been this year.
no.
He's been brilliant for them.
I've got just kind of throw my own 2 cents in on it. It's an interesting conversation to have. I'm generally a firm believer in a similar way to Sam that like there's a when certain things are going well for you at home, when you just feel good, when you're going through good things, it naturally the dopamine in your brain, the kind of the genetic makeup of your brain, the chemical balance in your brain, it's different. I mean that is a well proven, well documented thing that with the chemical makeup of your brain and the way that just affects how you are and who you are. And one thing I think, especially with elite level athletes, and it's not something that's different to non-elite level athletes, but something that they do differently in how they utilize that, is how it helps them prepare for a game. How the brain does those things as well. So when you're in a good position in mental health, your body naturally fights pain better. It naturally fights infections better and diseases and all those sorts of, which is where I think that the power of positive thought comes from. It's not necessarily that the thinking positive heals you. It's just that thinking positively, your brain's reacting better. It's helping your body get over things, but it has that knock on effect. So I put all those things that are well documented, and that just means that like you take a knock one week, maybe your body just responds to the knock, but maybe you just feel that bit better going into games each week. The season's taken a bit less toll on you. But also one thing I said that professional athletes do better than just about anybody else is how they utilize things for motivation.
Mm.
And not in the same way that you scroll through LinkedIn and everyone's somehow a motivational speaker because they've chat GPT something about being nice in the workplace.
Mm.
They elite level athletes know how to find motivation and utilize it, even if they're not trying to. They find just things that motivate them, just get them up and get them ready. So, yeah, absolutely. When my daughter was born, it was I just everywhere I went was with a skip and a jump, and even to this day, like the last couple of months at home have not been easy. But I tell you what, the second I realised it's Friday and my daughter's on her way, my whole brain changed. And then the Sunday when she's gone for the rest of the day, I'm in such a good, I'm in the best, because that's just what things like that do. So
I mean, I
yeah,
think as a whole as well. I mean, I think the one thing I know people are obviously focusing on the last 3 weeks and the link with the whole engagement stuff. He's only the Bills as a team have only not put up 30 points in 3 games this year.
yeah,
Every other game has been 30 plus points. So it's not. This isn't just oh well, he's he's done well. He's got engaged, and things have snapped and it's changed. They've been good all season. They're just getting better at the right time.
Oh yeah, but you think that if you're gonna propose to your partner at mid-November, by the sep by the time September rolls round, you are in such a good place as a relationship. So I'm not saying it's not just the engagement, but if you want to kind of take on that, just at home, things at that point anyway are going well. You're in a good place. You're in a good place with your partner. He's probably well. If you're an NFL player and you're doing that whole 3 month salary thing, then Lord knows what's in that ring because that's a lot of money. They can. You're not waiting for that kind of to be able to afford a ring, a decent one, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
So you can make that decision a bit quicker. But clearly things are going well anyway, and things at home are good for him. And clear, and I think for me it's just that whole, not necessarily the whole getting engaged thing. It's just the whole, okay, when things are good, then your brain seems to react differently to life.
I mean, even coming off that bye week, they pretty much had the division locked up, haven't they, as well?
Yeah, yeah,
They've
So
had it
there is an
locked up
element,
since they've had it locked up since Thanksgiving.
yeah. So I mean, it's that's obviously going to play a part in terms of allowing freedom of play because you're going into every game knowing that you've already won your division, you're already in the playoffs. So now it's just a case of basically just trying to get that number one spot and try and take it off the Chiefs. And I mean, you look at their next three games, it's the Patriots twice and the Jets. You couldn't ask for a better run in going into the playoff games than that at the moment. Maybe if we were looking at maybe like 5 years ago, we'd be talking differently. But at the
yeah,
moment, it's probably the perfect run in. So
yeah.
I think it's
Not for
it's
Karl,
an
it's not.
interesting one. Well,
No,
no,
Not for
no.
Karl right now, it's not.
no, but I think if anything, I suppose if you're a Bills fan and you're Josh Allen, you're looking at those three games and thinking this is where I make my mark of to be MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while we're on that, look, the last few weeks, I know you said you were struggling a little bit at the weekend, there, Karl. You've got the Bills twice in 3 weeks. Who else have you got in between that?
Chargers.
Chargers.
We're done. We're
So,
done.
no, Karl.
In all fairness,
On
the season
ones
was done when you started the season because
after,
you
yeah, your highlight of the season was beating the Bengals in week 1. But
You've just literally ripped off my nutsack there, Sam. Thank.
1-1-1-1-6-1-2-3. 1-1-6-1-2.
Samaritans.
That is the number for the Samaritans if you ever need it.
But yeah,
And
it's
should you ever feel that way, they have a
I'm.
Welsh language
You
line.
know that that meme, you know that dog meme where he's just sitting at a table chair and you're sipping the coffee
fire
and there's
everywhere.
fire around you. It's like I'm doing this with my gin right now.
This is
It's
fine.
fine. It's fine.
But the thing is, at least the expectations are set from the very start of the season.
If you ever
So
watched the Patriots touch back this season, you would know that we didn't have high expectations. I said our floor was 5 wins, and I didn't realize the foundation was
Flaw.
that bad.
I think
Flaw.
I had you down as being, was it 3-14?
Well,
So
no, well, we could have really have gone. We could have no wins if you think about it. The Cincinnati game's an asterisk, the Chicago Bears game's an asterisk, and the Jets game's an asterisk because the Jets are
Well,
ass. So we could have
is the
easily not have
Chicago?
a single win.
You beat the Chicago Bears by 16 points, 19-3. Is that really an asterisk?
Yes.
Fair enough. I, ch- I choose that to be a well-earned win. Because Bears
Why?
fans,
Because they had Matt Eberflus as their head coach who
no,
couldn't run a bath.
because they're the Chicago Bears. I hate them, and they talk too much.
I think the
This,
one thing, whether if we're talking about the Patriots, and I think it is worth mentioning. I think there have been games where they have looked better than how it's ended up. I mean, if we talk about like that Rams game, you looked good in that game. You played well. And there are highlights across the season where there are elements that you've done well. I think probably one of the best positives has been Drake May has been good when he's come in. Made a few mistakes being a rookie, but he's had a good season.
90% of that offense run through Drake May.
Yeah,
Simple as.
and he's showing that there's a reason why he's showing the reason why you picked him, and it's a positive going forward. But yeah, there's
The main component of an NFL team is the quarterback. If you get the quarterback right, at least you got some foundation that you can use. We have a very good quarterback, and we've got one of the best shutdown callers in the game in Christian Gonzalez. And I think that's two pillars you can rely on.
Mhm. You just need to fix everything else now.
Everything else is just landfill. Shit everywhere.
Um, are there any more parts of this the QB side of things that you want to look at? Because before we do, I'm gonna test you on a couple of quarterback things. But is there any other quarterback
There is
situations you want to look at?
How long
there is
before Will how
one.
how long before Will Levis is out of the NFL completely? This
He's
is not
not.
a
He's
dig
dead
from this is
sorry.
not a dig from 2 weeks ago, Sam. This
I
is
I
this
know
is
he's.
this,
I
this
know.
is
I
this is
accept the
this is
fact
a
he's out.
general
But
consensus question.
I don't think he's done. I think he'll come back stronger than ever. MVP. No, I don't. I don't. But you know, I don't think I think Tennessee again. They went for him. I think they've got to give him a chance.
I think in a couple of years, Will Levis is the senior, what would you call like a partner or advertising kind of whatever of the Mayo Bowl,
Yeah,
and then leave it at that.
he'll be a part owner in Hellman's.
Yeah,
You just stole my thunder there. You just stole my line.
he'll
3% ownership in Hellman's.
he'll have a job as creative director at Hellman's.
You can't
Um,
be creative with mayonnaise. It's
He sticks it in coffee. That's pretty creative.
that's
no,
very
that's
creative.
that's just that's a cardinal sin. Come on.
There's Mayo game day be delicious. That's a creative phrase using mayo,
That's the perfect day for fantasy football.
but now it's taken. Uh,
But no, I think probably the only one that I would mention is Spencer Rattler is going to be starting this week for the Saints. Obviously, they've had a lot of injuries, and obviously mentioned Alvin Kamara. I think their season's all but done now.
yeah.
Especially if Kamara is done for the season, they've already lost pretty much 90% of their starting roster. Um, and now Spencer Rattler's in. After that, I'm sure they talked about it on the review, but that I mean, me personally, I like I appreciated the balls of going and trying getting that 2 point conversion, but to a certain degree, it was a bit of dumb fuckery. But
You're at
me
home.
personally, I really liked it.
You're at
I
home.
was a fan.
If you're the home team and you're down by 1 point, you kick the PAT and send it to overtime because you're not just in any home stadium. You're in the Caesars Superdome, one of the loudest in the country. The 12th man means does take some part in that, especially in overtime. So I thought
I
it was a
think
dumb way. I thought it was a dumb way. I think Rizzy just tried to be ballsy about it.
See, the thing is, I don't think this sits too much with Rizzy. I think this was Spencer Rattler coming in and making it because you saw the moment that he did that, he pointed for the two. I think this is on him, and I like that as a quarterback making that decision. Yes, it didn't work out. Yes, there's an argument to say Rizzy probably should have stepped in and gone, no, we need to kick the field goal here. Maybe try and get like a fake, try and get one of them to, you know, come offside or whatever. But
But
I liked it from Rattler, and I don't like Rattler.
what I will say, and coming from a team who's been in this position last season and various different other times we've seen it this year and whatnot, you know whether you're going for two or not when that drive starts.
Mm.
You know you're going for two or not because as you are running onto the field as an offense, your head coach is saying to you as a QB, when if we get a touchdown, we go for the win now. We go for the win. If we can get a touchdown, we know momentum's on our side. We can go and get the win now.
Mm.
I'm very much in Sam's court here. But I like aggressive football anyway. I like the aggressive
You
mindset. I
come from
like
a you're a Dan Campbell guy. Of course, you love aggressive football.
exactly. But like, I mean, bear in mind though, before Dan Campbell, I came from two extremely conservative head coaches and always disliked that decision. I wanna see my team go and win it. I like being aggressive.
Mm.
So I like the decision anyway, but I think it doesn't come from a case of I'm not saying Spencer Rattler did or didn't make the decision. I'm not saying the heck, but I'm saying that decision was made, I think, before the drive started.
Yeah.
So when Spencer Rattler comes straight out going like two, we're going for two.
Mm.
I think that's because it's a pre-made decision, and you're kind of just reminding everybody else that um, don't forget we're going for two. Don't you run off and go get ready for the
Yeah.
kick team to come on. You're staying on,
Yeah.
and you probably have a 2 point play ready to go
Mhm.
or close to ready to go.
Like I say, I think given the Saints are in a what were they 5-8 going into this game or whatever that ridiculous record was, maybe 5-10. Um, they were never going to be in a position where they were going to win anything. So why not start trying stuff? So I think the context plays a part, and I do agree. In any other normal situation, trying to go for two in that situation is utter dumbfuckery. But I think if you're going to be in a position that they are as, well, they're 5-9 now, so would have been 5-8. Um, I'm not too angry at that decision, and I quite like it as a play call. But yeah, I think it's just
But
one of those situations. I think if the Saints were 8-5, they definitely would not be going for that 2 point conversion.
no, and one other thing I'd throw in there as well though is not the same situation, but I do think it has similar implications. Is when people talk about the onside kick with 11 minutes to go on Sunday for the Lions. Again, I like the decision, but the difference is the Saints were on what? How many unanswered points in that game? At that point, they were 17-0 down at just after just into the second
Yeah.
half, and they brought it back to at that point 2019. Your defense has held them to a field goal all half.
Hmm.
My only argument there in favor of kind of if you're playing situational, yeah, I get it. If you want to just go out there and win it or lose it at that moment in time, rather than send it to overtime and go and lose it there anyway, it is what it is. But your defense was clearly in a good position. Your defense was making stops, whereas when you've got the Lions, we couldn't stop the Bills from doing anything. They were having their way with us left, right, and centre, and we could do nothing about it. There's the main difference. I was quite happy to see something different done to try and get the defense off that field and keep them off.
The thing
Whereas in
is
that
that
game, the
the,
defense is
the
doing well.
that Lions one, you expect it from the Lions. You expect a crazy play like that from the Lions, and I think it's for them to make that decision again. It wasn't. I mean, me personally, again, I thought it was a silly decision because the risk that I mean, the I think the risk over reward in that situation, especially now you have to declare the onside kick.
Yeah.
I just think that there was never going to be anything necessarily good that came out of that, or it was unlikely that anything good was going to come out of that. And in the end, something extremely bad came out of it. So, and then the second one, to be fair, the second one, I genuinely thought you'd recovered that. When he first went into that, I thought he's recovered that. He's going
Yeah.
to, but then it turned out that he didn't, and he was too busy scrapping on the floor and at the end. But
Yeah. I heard some things about that, by the way. Apparently, some like in terms of a couple of players who've described the experience, things got touched, things got grabbed. I think some
I'd like
players
to.
owe other players dinners. Um,
I would like to implement a rule if that's okay. So whenever you go for an onside kick and there's always a melee trying to retrieve and grab the ball, if players are not trying to get off the huddle, if they don't have the ball, then the referee should be allocated a German suplex on each player to get them off the huddle.
Yeah. But I would say is like apparently the stories I was hearing was just like I say, some people are owed dinners and some people are owed Valentine's Day cards, I think. Um, and definitely at least a box of chocolates on the day. Maybe not a full set of roses or anything, but it's that's one of the crazy. But my take on it, which I did give on Monday, which clearly you weren't listening to the episode on Monday, but it's fine, whatever. Joking. The the defense, like I said, the defense was so gassed. And by that point, Khalil Dorsey was out, Carlton Davis was out, Aleem McNeil was out, and you already have like the whole hospital wing of players on IR on that defense already. But they were demoralising drives. They were hitting us on fourth and twos that would go for 25 yards that they just do a
Yeah.
little dink pass that was really easy. They were quite demoralising drives. The defense, the 2-3 players still had that are starters were so gassed that, do you know what? If they recovered it and got the touchdown, or they got the touchdown in a play, I tell you what, they only have to come out for a play. That's another drive that we can get out there for. Keep the defense off the field for as long as possible and give them a little bit of rest. And maybe if they're a little bit better rested, they can come back with a better play and make a play when it might be desperately needed. Um, but that again, that's just maybe making a bit of excuses. With what you said about Spencer Rattler, which was actually the point that you were making, I like Spencer Rattler. I think he looked a lot better than what they have.
Yeah. He's a Sooner though, so I've got to hate him. I just generally just don't like him, but it's mainly
So,
because he's a former Sooner.
CJ Stroud. So how do you think I feel about CJ Stroud? Is what it is. Um, but no, he's better than what they have, even in Derek Carr. I think.
Mm.
And if I'm a Saints fan, which I've made points out of the fact that they exist in this house, but I'm not one of them. I would want Spencer Rattler for the future.
I think he's shown enough that he could be their starter going forward, at least in the temporary, whether that's whether it's until they look in a couple of years or they look to bring in a proper quarterback or not. I think he's
Yeah,
got enough to sort of get them by. They just need the rest of their team to actually be fit and available
yeah,
because they don't have anything else at the moment now that Kamara is going to potentially be gone. Don't even have a running back. Their Swiss Army knife is out for the season. Their best wide receivers out for the season. Like half of their defense is out at the moment. They O line has been absolutely decimated most of the season. It's just been a bad season for them, and I think it's credit to them that they're still managing to be 5-9. To be honest,
I
but,
completely agree.
but I don't like the Saints, so
How do I?
yeah,
So that's fine. She's actually downstairs at the moment. I can say that. I can say that loud. I still don't dare, just in case. Hearing like a hawk when she needs it. Carl, what do you think?
What regarding of what regarding of
Spencer, Mr.
Spencer
Rattler.
Rattler? Um, I've only seen a little bit of him so far this season, and I don't know. He doesn't float my boat, if that makes sense. I think he has an aggressive way of playing, which is good, but overall, there was a bit of hype coming out of him during. I can't remember what draft it was. He came out of. It was 2 years.
This year.
2 years.
It was
This
is
year, it was
this
this
year.
year coming out of him, and then he exponentially fell down the board to like what was it, third, fourth round? So
fourth
Yeah,
round, I
fourth,
think he was.
yeah,
fourth.
fourth round. So when someone was coming in with that so much hype, and then all of a sudden they plateaued like that before draft day, that's slightly worrying to me. Um, I think he's a backup. I don't think I don't think he's
Oh, no, it was
starting
round
NFL
five.
QB. Oh, it was round five, was it?
It was round
Yeah.
five. I
He,
apologize.
he, he looks to me like the sort of player that's going to be a backup.
I think I've already made myself up though. I'm not a big Derek Carr fan, um, or anything like that. So I think still think he's better than what they've got in house at this moment. Um, Although, if he never plays a snap in the NFL again, which I would enjoy, he would end he's now had 69 completions. So, if this is where his career ends, I'm happy with it. I'll take it. Because I am a child. Yes, I am a child. Right. Before we move on and talk about a couple of the games at the weekend, I'm gonna throw a couple of stats. I want you to tell me who's leading the NFL in these stats. This is per NFL GSIS, and it's qualifying leaders. So player must have at least 306 passing attempts. There are 31 quarterbacks in the NFL who make the cut for this. Who currently in the NFL has the most passing attempts?
Most passing attempts.
Attempts.
Joe Burrow.
It is Joe Burrow. Well, completions. That's with 527 attempts, by the way. Completions.
Don't think it's Joe Burrow. Is it Joe Burrow?
It's Joe Burrow. And he's quite considerably. So Geno Smith's in second. Joe Burrow has 361 completions. Geno Smith has 339. So 22 ahead. The Who's got the highest completion percentage out of all quarterbacks who've had a minimum 306 attempts? Can't be
Well,
true.
I mean, theoretically, if he's got the most completions and the most attempts, wouldn't he be?
But we're talking percentages.
And they played how many? At least 320 snaps.
I think
Well, then they
306. It says 306 attempts, but there are QBs in here who don't have 306 attempts, so I'm guessing it means 306 snaps or 306 dropbacks.
Sam Darnold.
It's not Sam Darnold. He is.
Not
Geez,
in the
nowhere
top
near as
end.
high as I thought.
Yeah.
He's 12th.
Matt Stafford.
No, Stafford is 16th.
Damn it.
Do you want to have a shot here, Carl? And you're on mute before you.
I was going to say Jared Goff.
Jared Goff's second.
Ooh, okay.
Is it a rookie?
No,
No, it's not a
Okay.
rookie. Is it in the AFC?
he's in the AFC.
Huh? He is in the AFC. Okay, that narrows it down then.
It should be.
Patrick Mahomes.
It's not. Not Mahomes.
He's been
Mahomes.
terrible this year, to be fair.
Mahomes is 14th.
Yeah.
And just for consideration, Joe Burrow is 8th. So he may have 500. He may be topping attempts and completions, but he has a 68.5% completion percentage.
Is it Lamar Jackson because he doesn't actually do that much throwing?
No, it's not. He's actually a little bit ahead of Darnold, little bit behind Joe Burrow.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
in order just to make sure we get through it, it's actually Tua Tagovailoa.
I was going to say two on my next one as well. Someone who throws check down, check down, check down, check down.
Mm.
He's 365 attempts, 19th, but 269 completions, 17th, and a 73.7% completion percentage.
And how many of them passes were behind the line of scrimmage?
DJ Galele. Yards, most yards. This one should be quite easy.
Oh,
Joe
Josh
Burrow.
Allen, surely.
Joe Burrow.
Oh, it's Joe Burrow. Okay,
It's just
fine.
completions and attempts and yards are just an accumulative number game, whereas percentages, you've got to play somewhat
Well,
that numbers
I
game.
knew about the Burrow yardage because I knew he was top because Jamar Chase was top of the yardage for wide receivers.
Touchdowns, most
Joe Burrow.
touchdowns. Yeah, this is really easy, this isn't it? A lot easier. Who's had the longest completion? No, sorry. No, we'll get this first. Oh wait, no. Longest completion.
Sam Darnold.
It's not. One quarterback has had a completion for one more yard.
Really?
Because you're thinking of Sam Darnold's 97-yarder, aren't you?
Yeah, the one to JJ. Was it JJ?
It was JJ. You said you
Yeah,
got it too. Well,
it
Jay
was
Jettis, but there's
JJ.
one with one more yard that obviously was a touchdown.
I remember Will Levis throwing a very, very deep one near close to his own end zone.
It's Will Levis.
Oh, yeah.
Longest completion of the season is 98
Season.
yards by Will Levis.
Was that to Nick Westbrook Akine by any chance?
It was.
Yeah,
That's got to be Nick Westbrook Akina, yeah.
Most interceptions.
Jameis Winston.
Nope. No, but considering he's played nearly half the games as the top, he's only a couple behind.
Um,
Um,
he's thrown
who's
a lot of interceptions this
Will
year.
Levis?
I was
Nope.
going to say, is it Will Levis?
Oh,
No,
is that
but
Will?
Will
Oh.
Levis is tied with Jameis Winston.
Oh my
Um,
word.
So given what okay, Will Levis has actually not played as many games
I'm
either.
trying to think for interceptions.
Rookie?
Definitely not a rookie. Been a big subject of conversation today.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
I was gonna say, yeah.
He's over just every game. Well, it seems like every now and again he throws a game with a couple of interceptions, but he also had the 4 interception game.
That was a shambles.
But then, to be fair, there is one quarterback who has outdone him in having more interceptions.
There is, but he won that game as well, but also went on that ridiculous run of more touchdowns than incompletions for so many games, so it balances it out slightly. And they've made the playoffs. I would think, can't think of who you're talking about.
No.
I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm sure that would be the case. And the last one, which quarterback has the best quarterback rating this season out of them?
I would say Jared Goff because he's had a few
Second,
really.
and it's not as close as you'd think. Pretty close, but not as close as you'd think.
Joe Burrow.
Nope. He's third.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson with a
Course it is.
120.7 quarterback rating. Jared Goff has 110.4. You look at like the 5 interception game. Games like that just drag your numbers down. There's been a couple of games where he's just not put up enough. So yeah, Joe Burrow, and then Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has been pretty consistent, hasn't he?
And that's how many? 10 players have a quarterback rating on the year above 100. Derek Carr is one of them. Not something I bet you thought you'd hear today.
No.
But to wrap up on that, I do believe we've done hopefully you've done a little bit of homework or thought of a couple of players for Fantasy Game Day because I'm just gonna run through a couple. So one more time I'm gonna run it. Sam, don't mess this one up. Be ready. Be
Okay.
ready. So just throwing it back to end the show as we always do now. We're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. That's Fantasy Game Day, the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. Create your lineup, manage your budget, compete against fellow UK fans, and maybe even win some money in the process. Just head to fantasygameday.app. Link is in right down there. Sign up and use code Hurdle, HRDLE. That is Hurdle without the U.
Because there's no hurdle the line without you.
And receive a free play worth £7.50 when you deposit and play for the first time. Must be over the age of 18. Please gamble responsibly. And with that in mind, we're going to give you a couple of ideas of if you're going to set a fantasy lineup this week. By the way, well done, gentlemen. That was perfect. We've got a couple of ideas for your lineup this week. Have you had any thoughts as to who you are looking at? A couple of
I've sorry,
players.
do we jump the gun there? Sorry, Fletch. Yeah, I've got two players on my radar for this week. Not just for fantasy game day, but because I'm also in my semi-final in my main fantasy league as well, and I have got these two players in my lineup. Now they're both at 6,000 points, so they are quite expensive, but they are gonna go off this time. So. Obviously, you won't see this show till tomorrow, so this guy's probably you're not going to end up getting. It's of course the LA Chargers number one receiver, Lad McConkey, second in win rate against man, fourth in target rate against man. Justin Herbert is ready to go in week 16. He was removed from the injury report on Wednesday. That's the greatest news you could hear if you have shares of Lad McConkey, which obviously I do. Denver's defense has allowed fourth most passing attempts, seven most receptions, and 12 most receiving yards. And also listen to this: Lad McConkey's 2.48 yards per route run and 2.35 yards per team pass attempt during his rookie campaign both rank top 10 at the receiver position. A few notable informations: fifth in fantasy points, target versus man, sixth in slot snaps, and sixth in EPA. Translation: Lad McConkey has been nothing but short of spectacular in 2024. And then, so that is who you should go for there. And then my other option, well, once I get it up there, where is it? Here we go. It's obviously you don't like the Chicago Bears, Fletch, but obviously if you put your rivalry to one side, you just go for fantasy game day and just go for the money. DJ Moore. And the reason why is this. DJ Moore has been initially fed under new head coach Thomas Brown, 28% targets. Stop looking at me like that. 18 points per game.
No.
More more even saw 3 carries for 24 yards last week. The last time he played Detroit in week 13, he saw 16 targets and posted 23.7 fantasy points. Fire him up with confidence as a strong wide receiver too. I've actually got him in my flex position. So those are the two players you should go for in this league, especially if you want to win a bit of money. And if you've got these two in your fantasy lineup for this week's semi-final, or you might be playing in a championship round, they could be your secret weapons to win you your fantasy league championship. Without further ado, Sam, who have you got?
So as always, I like to go for bottom feeders and try and find the budget players. This week's been a lot harder to try and find good budget players. There seems to be a lot of the players who are doing well, getting the higher points, which kind of comes with the territory. But I have thought for this week that potentially looking at tight ends might be the option. And my two options out of tight end, I think, in terms of as a very cheap option or a much cheaper option, I'd be maybe looking at TJ Hawkinson. Um, the Seahawks are ranked 19th in against tight ends, and I just think that he could be a good cheap option to go for. However, there's probably one that I was looking at it quite surprised that he was this cheap, given the fact that he put up, let me double check, 18 points last week, getting 10 targets, 7 receptions for 111 yards. Valued at 4,200 is Sam Laporta. I think that Bears defense is a very solid defense as a whole, and I could see them having to use the weapons of all sorts. So Sam Laporta would probably be one of my choices. The other one, I suppose, if you're wanting to pick someone who's not the higher price, but is a good price. In relative, I suppose in relative terms, is Khalil Shakir. 5,600. Buffalo Bills are up against New England Patriots. It speaks for itself.
Yeah. I've got two that I'm going for this week. Not well. Number one is this is expensive. I try not to do expensive options. I and do go a little bit further into it, but at 7,800, yes, I know it's expensive. Jameer Gibbs could be a real shout. But the thing is, with this game, I think you get one of two options. Either Jameer Gibbs is going to go off, and I mean go off and be unreal, or you are going to see nothing from him. Depends if you want to take that chance. Maybe at that price you don't, but it's if you want to take that chance. Mainly because the Bears' defense at the moment is averaging about 47.7 in the last three games against the run, in terms of PFF ratings. They've been absolutely terrible in the last 3 weeks against the run overall. The defense is starting to see a little bit of a hit. They're not in the greatest position. They've pretty much had to give up on the season now. They've got nothing to play for. They just want to play party pooper. With David Montgomery out and potentially out for a few weeks, Jameer Gibbs will see a hell of a lot more touches from the backfield, and he's going to be playing for his fallen brother, which I always think is definitely a thing to be looking at. And one that I'm just looking at in general is Michael Penix Jr. going into this 4,200 as a quarterback. He's playing against the New York Giants. And end of story on that one. I think just about there covers everything you need to know on that matchup. But the last time I watched Michael Penix Jr. was in the championship game for the college football playoffs, where unfortunately for the young man, he did get his backside handed to him by that Michigan D line. Um, I enjoyed watching that. I obviously really enjoyed watching that, but he's a damn good quarterback. He's a tough kid. He's got a lot going for. He's a very, very good, and I see him wanting to come out and really make a point, really put a stamp on the game. And against the New York Giants, you're not going to find a better team to do it against at the moment. So 4,200, if he wants to really come out and make a name for himself, the options there.
Will Levis is also valued at 4,200.
Oh, piss off.
Wait. Who have the Titans got this weekend again? They've got
Colts.
the Colts.
There's a solid defense. He's going to put up
No,
interception.
but it's almost like reverse psychology here. He was meant to go off versus the Jags and didn't.
Hmm.
And in fact did the reverse. Now, if he's gonna meant to struggle against the Colts, what if he goes off this weekend?
If you put Will Levis in your fantasy game day lineup, you need to be
Sectioned.
you need to be sectioned and be put down with Stockholm syndrome.
Um,
I might stick him in my lineup now.
you might have, yeah. You have to, yeah,
I've still
well,
got
yeah.
cheese left. I've not quite got through that there.
But that is,
Just out of interest, because I know that, and this may be something that, going maybe more for next season, but one of the things that Get Fantasy Game Day does is you have to pick a player to captain.
oh yeah.
Who would be your captain for this week going into the game? Who do you think stands the best chance of getting the highest points to double up?
If you want my
Ah,
personal opinion, he is expensive. I've forgotten what the points are on this guy. I will be captaining James Conner.
that's a good shout.
7,400.
I'll be captaining James Conner.
That's a good shout.
Hmm. I agree.
You might
He
stick
would be
with Carl.
my number one choice.
It's either that or
The only,
Saquon.
to be honest, the other one that I would potentially be looking at is Jamar Chase as well.
Oh, that's a
But
good
again,
shout.
he would cost you a
Against
lot of money.
Cleveland.
That's
Yeah, but it's
That
it's
secondary doesn't really give up that much, if I'm
it's
honest.
28 against they're ranked 28th.
Oh.
And I think if you look at the fact that their offense is, if DTR is going to be as bad as he's played, that Cincinnati Bengals offense could be on the field a lot. But personally, I think if you're making a choice between Chase, Barkley, and Connor, I'd rather go for the slightly cheaper option
Yeah.
with the better matchup. So, but yeah, just thought throw that out there as an interesting one.
And I think you've always got your Justin Jefferson
Yeah,
as someone
JJ
who will
against the
probably get you a lot.
Seahawks.
Um,
James Cook could be a shout. Or nothing as captain, but he could be a shout.
or even Scary Terry.
Mm, he's
Um,
very reliable.
very reliable. Sees the target, sees the targets at least, and then actually, to be fair, they're against that Eagles defense, so I wouldn't back them
I've
too hard this weekend.
I've just found someone I'd completely lost me, but I've just found someone who would be a great option, a very very cheap option if you're looking for a cheap option. Uh, is Ty Johnson at
Another
the
show.
Bills. The last 2 weeks he's put up. Let me have a look. It was
Just go for every single Buffalo Bills receiver against the Patriots.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing. This is their version of teabagging me here. Let's just get
in
lost.
in all fairness, he put up 13.5 points against the Rams. He didn't have a single attacking rushing yard, but he had two catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And then against Detroit, he had two a, a, attempts for 9 yards in rushing, but he had five completions. He had five attempts, five targets, five completions for 114 yards. He's starting to become the outlet um, from the backfield into the receiving core. So he could, as a 2,800 option, if you want to then start sticking in a few more expensive players, I would be looking to put him in. Not that I'm trying to rub salt into the wound, Karl, but it's the obvious picks.
Okay, so to deviate away from the Buffalo Bills shellacking they're going to give the New England Patriots, the other player I'll give you, um, hang on, where is he on my list? What about you? Jalen McMillan of Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
The
that's a
last two,
choice.
the last two games, because I play in half PPR league. So his last two games was against the Raiders, put up 19.9 points, and then last week against the Chargers, 16 points. He has become the Buccaneers' de facto wide receiver too, because obviously Chris Godwin's out injured. His remaining three games are the Cowboys, Panthers, and the Saints. But his value is very good, 4,400 points. So you can
It's
potentially
certainly
go for
worth
that.
it. Yeah, certainly worth a show.
Lovely. Well, with that in mind, I'm aware of the time, and if we're not careful, I might just have to end this episode with a Happy New Year hat on, and I don't want to do that. I want to swell, get back and enjoy our weekend. So, thank you very much, gents. I hope we see you on Sunday for doing the pick'ems, which I forgot to do on Sunday. But then again, things happened on Sunday. Got distracted, and we will. Yeah, I'll see you on Sunday, and then obviously we'll see you next week for post Christmas. I'll hopefully see you both fat and still hungover.
I-
At some
I'm
point next week.
I'm fat anyway, so that doesn't really change.
Well, hungover then as well. Um, God, that was mean. I don't. Well, I don't. I'm not going to call you fat. That's mean. Um, but hopefully we'll also see you hungover. And Carl, you too. Hope to see you next week, hungover and fat.
I mean, fat's a bit of a strong word to describe me, but I understand
I'm
it.
not. I'm not using it to
Hungover,
describe
100,
you now.
hung,
I'm. I'm saying like with Christmas, I want you to eat lots of food and
yes.
get very. I'm not calling you fat. I'm just not outright calling you fat. I am not.
There's a good chance I'm going to end up with 2 bottles of gin and 3 bottles of rum. I think I'm going to be better off.
Um. Well, if that's not the case, then I will also be fat as well. I'm throwing myself into this. I hope will also be fat, and also I don't drink. really. Might have a beer or two. So to be fair, I've not drunk in that long that I probably will be hungover off a bottle. So we'll see. But anyway, with that in mind, enjoy your Christmas, both of you. Sam, I will see you for the college football episode on Monday. Join us just before Christmas for the review episode for everything that goes on this weekend and your pre-Christmas episode, and then we'll join you after Christmas as well. Gents, see you later.